All right, get ready. We're going deep into the Indian Rebellion of 1857.
Yeah, the Sepoy Mutiny, as some call it.
You've shared some really interesting excerpts.
From a historical text.
And, well, I'm ready to get into it. Uncover these human stories.
Yeah, behind this huge turning point in history.
Let's start, I guess, with the whole greased cartridges thing.
Right.
I mean, that was the spark that ignited this powder keg, right?
It was.
Imagine being a sepoy,
Oh, yeah.
a soldier in the East India Company's army.
Right.
Your rifle is your lifeline.
It is.
And all of a sudden, there are these whispers,
Yeah.
these rumors,
Uh-huh.
that the new cartridges are greased with animal fat.
Beef and pork.
Oh, man.
This wasn't just a dietary concern. Right?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, these sepoys were largely Hindu and Muslim.
For Hindus, cows are sacred.
Right.
Consuming beef is totally taboo.
Yeah.
And for Muslims, pork is forbidden.
Yeah.
So to even touch a cartridge tainted with these fats,
Uh-huh.
it was a violation of their core beliefs.
Oh, it felt like a deliberate attack on their faith.
It wasn't just the religious aspect, though, was it?
No, not at all.
There were deeper social implications, too.
Absolutely. The source actually highlights the story of Sitaram,
Right.
a sepoy who served in the Afghan war.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back home and is totally ostracized by his community.
Oh, wow.
They believed he must have broken caste rules while abroad.
Right.
Even his fellow soldiers shunned him.
That's just heartbreaking.
It is.
Just for doing his duty.
Yeah.
It really underscores the immense weight of these social and religious structures.
This was a really big deal.
It really was.
It shows that the rebellion wasn't just a military conflict,
No.
but a clash of cultures.
Right.
A fight for identity.
Okay, so we've got this religious anxiety, social tensions.
Yes.
But the sepoys also had practical concerns, too. The source mentions their pay.
7 rupees a month for an infantryman.
7 rupees a month
Can you imagine?
to risk your life,
To risk your life.
maintain your uniform,
Keep your uniform.
and support your family
Your whole family back home.
on 7 rupees a month.
And that was IF.
Yeah.
You were lucky enough to be in the infantry.
Right.
It created a system where even the most talented sepoy,
Someone really skilled.
like someone with the military genius of Hyder Ali himself,
Wow.
could never rise to the same status or pay as a British subaltern.
It's easy to see how resentment would build
Oh, yeah.
under those circumstances.
Absolutely.
I mean, the sepoys weren't just fighting for themselves, were they?
Oh,
They were fighting for their families,
Right.
struggling back home.
exactly. And those families were being squeezed by British policies as well.
Yeah.
Things like the land revenue system,
Right.
which placed heavy taxes on peasant farmers,
Yeah.
just added more fuel to the fire.
You're working your land.
You are
And you see most of your earnings.
just going straight to the
Yeah.
British coffers.
So we've got these disgruntled sepoys with religious and social anxieties,
Mm-hmm.
facing economic hardship,
Right.
and witnessing the suffering of their families
Absolutely.
caused by British policies.
Yeah.
It sounds like a recipe for revolt.
It is. It really is. And remember,
Yeah.
it wasn't just the sepoys. This rebellion spread like wildfire across northern India, engulfing entire communities,
Wow.
peasants,
Yeah.
artisans,
Uh-huh.
religious leaders, even disgruntled civil servants,
Oh, wow.
all united in their opposition to British rule.
A truly national uprising.
A truly national uprising.
That's where figures like Rani Lakshmibai of Hansi come in, right?
Yes.
This warrior queen
Yeah.
who fought valiantly against the British.
And Bahadur Shah Zafar,
Yeah.
the last Mughal emperor,
Right.
who was declared the symbolic leader of
Yeah.
the rebellion.
Alongside leaders like
Rana
Yeah,
Sahib
right.
and Tantia Tope,
Yeah.
they embodied that spirit of resistance.
I mean, there is debate among historians, isn't there,
There is.
about how organized this uprising really was.
Yeah.
So was it the spontaneous eruption
Yeah, was it just anger?
of anger
Yeah.
or a carefully planned movement?
Our source suggests that a grand, premeditated plan is unlikely.
Okay.
The initial uprisings,
Yeah.
like the one in Meerut,
Right.
seem to have been just instinctive reactions
Yeah.
to the cartridges.
To the cartridges.
But as the rebellion spread,
Yeah.
efforts were made to establish some kind of structure.
Sort of like a wildfire.
Yes.
That starts small,
Uh-huh.
but then it quickly grows out of control.
Right.
And then they try to...
They try to contain it,
Yeah.
direct it.
Yeah.
A good analogy.
So in Delhi, for instance, they formed a council of soldiers
In Delhi.
to govern the city
Yeah.
and proclaimed Bahadur Shah Zafar
Yes.
as the Emperor of India.
Hoping to rally support.
Yeah.
Bring people together.
Yeah.
Desperate attempt.
It really was, wasn't it?
To create unity.
Yeah.
Leadership.
Yeah.
In the chaos.
In all that chaos.
They even tried to reach out to other rulers.
Okay.
For alliances and support.
But imagine the challenges.
Oh, the challenge.
They had limited resources.
Very limited resources.
Yeah.
Especially weapons.
Right.
Ammunition. Difficulty in communication.
Right.
And the lack of a central command to coordinate their efforts.
It's a wonder they achieved as much as they did.
It really is.
Heroic.
Yes.
But ultimately facing impossible odds.
Impossible odds.
The British just had superior resources.
Oh, yeah.
Tactics and organization.
Their counteroffensive was swift and brutal.
And to make matters worse,
they
received support from some Indian rulers.
They did.
Who saw aligning with the British as serving their own interests.
Right. It's crucial to remember that not all of India was united against the British.
Right.
Some saw them as a stabilizing force.
Okay.
Or feared the uncertainty of what might replace them.
So it's more nuanced than a simple us versus them narrative.
It's very nuanced.
A complex web of alliances.
Oh, yeah.
Motivations and fears.
And tragically, despite their bravery,
Yeah.
figures like Rani Lakshmibai and Bahadur Shah met grim fates.
Yeah.
The rebellion was crushed with devastating force.
A tragic end to this chapter.
It was.
But even in defeat,
the
1857 revolt was a turning point.
Absolutely.
It fundamentally changed the relationship
it did.
between the British and India.
Yes.
Okay, so let's unpack those consequences.
Okay.
You mentioned the end of the East India Company.
Right.
And the transfer of power directly to the British crown.
Yes.
But what other changes did this rebellion trigger?
Well, it forced the British to reevaluate their entire approach
to governing India.
Okay. They realized
Yeah.
their previous policies had created this deep resentment.
Yeah. And they had to adapt to maintain control.
Okay.
Let's explore these changes and the broader implications in part 2.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Back again.
Picking up right where we left off.
Yep.
Exploring the fallout
Uh-huh.
of the 1857 rebellion.
Yes.
And how it reshaped British rule in India.
It was a wake-up call, really.
Yeah.
Forcing them to sort of reassess their entire approach.
Okay, so beyond the transfer of power, right?
Right.
From the East India Company to the British Crown,
Mm.
what specific changes did they implement to regain control
Okay.
and prevent future uprisings?
One major shift
Yeah.
was a more cautious approach
Okay.
towards Indian social and religious customs.
Right. Because?
Remember some of their earlier policies,
Yeah.
like the abolition of sati,
Right.
were seen as attacks on traditional beliefs?
Right.
The rebellion showed them
Yeah.
that pushing too hard, too fast,
could really backfire.
spectacularly.
Yeah.
So instead of imposing Western values,
Right.
they adopted a more hands-off approach.
Yes, more hands-off.
Focusing on maintaining stability,
Yeah.
even if it meant compromising.
Compromising some of their reformist ideals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pragmatism over ideology.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
But it wasn't just about backing off on social reforms, was it?
No.
They also had to address the root causes of the rebellion.
Yes.
The economic grievances,
Right.
the political dispossession, the cultural anxieties we discussed earlier.
Right.
They weren't about to dismantle the colonial system.
No, of course not.
But they needed to make it less volatile.
Right.
One key area was the land revenue system.
Remember those heavy taxes placed on peasant farmers? That was a major source of resentment.
It was.
The rebellion forced them to reevaluate
how they collected revenue.
Yeah.
And to consider the impact.
Yeah, on the rural population.
Did they actually ease the burden on the farmers?
Yeah.
Or was it just window dressing?
There were some adjustments and reforms,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important to understand that the system itself remained exploitative.
Right.
I mean, the British still needed to extract revenue from India
Of course.
to finance their empire.
Right.
But the rebellion made them more aware of the need to balance their economic interests with the potential for unrest.
A delicate balancing act
Is.
for an empire built on extraction.
Absolutely.
And what about the political dispossession of local rulers?
Yeah.
Did that change after the rebellion?
Well, they became more cautious about annexing territory directly.
So remember the doctrine of lapse?
Yeah, the doctrine of lapse.
Where the British would just grab a kingdom?
They would.
If a ruler didn't have a direct heir?
Yes.
I mean, that was a huge source of anger.
It was.
And contributed to the rebellion.
Definitely.
After 1857.
Yeah.
They were less likely to use such aggressive tactics.
You had to be more careful.
So instead of outright annexation,
right,
they focused on consolidating their influence.
Yeah, through alliances and partnerships.
Yeah, with those local rulers who were willing to play ball.
Yeah,
classic divide and rule.
A classic divide and rule strategy.
Cultivating allies among the Indian elite.
Yeah.
To counterbalance the potential for mass uprisings.
It's a shrewd,
it is
a cynical approach to empire management.
It seems like they really took the lessons of the rebellion to heart.
They had to.
They did.
The 1857 rebellion was a stark warning.
It was.
That their hold on India wasn't as secure as they thought.
Right.
They learned that relying solely on force and coercion wasn't sustainable.
In the long run.
No.
But let's be clear.
Okay.
They didn't suddenly become benevolent rulers.
No, they didn't.
The core nature of colonial exploitation remained.
The system was still in place. They made adjustments.
They did.
But the underlying system of economic and political domination persisted.
It did.
The British still controlled the levers of power.
Yeah.
And their primary goal remained extracting resources.
Of course.
And maintaining their imperial authority.
Okay, so we've talked about the immediate changes in policy and approach. But what about the long-term impact?
Yeah.
Did the 1857 rebellion have a lasting effect on the British Raj?
Oh, without a doubt.
It did.
The rebellion cast a long shadow over British rule. It changed the dynamics
of the relationship between the ruler and the ruled.
Completely.
It fostered a sense of distrust and animosity that would be difficult to overcome.
It also perhaps unintentionally planted the seeds
for what?
For a growing nationalist movement.
Okay.
Let's delve into that in part 3.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive.
Here we are.
We've covered the causes, the conflict, and the changes the British made after the rebellion.
Right after.
Now, let's explore the lasting effects.
Yeah.
How did this event shape the future of India?
Okay, so while the rebellion itself was crushed...
Brutally crushed.
Yes. Its impact went far beyond the battlefield.
So even in defeat... It planted seeds of change.
Yes, it did.
How did it inspire future generations of Indians?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Before 1857, British rule might have seemed invincible.
Right. Like unbeatable.
To many Indians.
Yeah.
But the rebellion demonstrated that they could be challenged.
Okay.
That their power wasn't absolute.
So it wasn't unchallengeable?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It showed that resistance, even against, overwhelming odds, was possible.
It's like a crack in a seemingly impenetrable wall.
Yes.
A sign that even the mightiest empires can be vulnerable.
Exactly. And that crack became a beacon of hope.
For who?
For those yearning for freedom.
Okay.
The stories of the rebellion, tales of courage and sacrifice became part of a shared narrative.
A shared narrative?
Yeah, a source of inspiration for the nationalist movement.
Okay.
That would emerge in the following decades.
Our source highlights?
It does.
You know, iconic figures like Rani Lakshmibai, Nana Sahib, Tantia Tope.
Right.
Their actions, even in defeat, made them into legend.
They became legends. Yeah. Absolutely.
They did, didn't they?
They became symbols of resistance.
Okay.
Their bravery celebrated in songs.
Wow.
And stories passed down.
Through generations.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about individual heroes, was it?
No, it wasn't the sepoys who mutinied.
Right.
The peasants who joined the fight.
Yeah.
Even those who simply provided support, they all contribute
to this growing sense of national consciousness.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating how a shared experience,
yes, it is,
even one as traumatic as a failed rebellion, can forge
a sense of unity and purpose.
That's the power of collective memory, I guess?
It is. It is the power of collective memory.
The rebellion provided a common enemy.
Right.
A shared grievance against British rule.
Absolutely.
It transcended
regional
and religious,
creating a foundation.
A foundation.
For a broader Indian identity.
So the 1857 rebellion, while not directly leading to independence, became a catalyst.
For the movement.
Yeah, for the movement that would eventually achieve it.
Okay.
It's almost like it shifted the conversation from can we resist to how do we win?
They gave future generations
a
blueprint for resistance.
A blueprint.
A set of examples to draw from.
Examples to draw from.
A powerful narrative to rally around.
And the British?
Despite their efforts to tighten control.
They inadvertently contributed to this growing nationalist sentiment, didn't they?
They did.
Oh.
Well, because they were trying to suppress any form of dissent.
Right.
Their response to the rebellion while aiming to,
reassert control?
Reassert control, yeah.
Yeah.
Also had unintended consequences.
So the increased surveillance.
Right.
The curtailing of civil liberties. The sense that they were being treated as subjects rather than citizens.
Yes.
All of this fueled resentment.
It fueled resentment.
And further solidified a sense of us versus them.
So their attempts to strengthen their grip actually backfired.
Pushing more people towards the nationalist cause.
It did.
A classic example of how oppression often breeds resistance.
It really is.
And as we move into the 20th century, we see the legacy of 1857 woven into the fabric of the Indian independence movement.
The leaders, the strategies, even the symbols and slogans.
They all echo the events of the rebellion.
They do?
It's amazing to see how a single event,
it's incredible,
even one that ended in defeat, could have such a lasting impact.
The huge impact.
It makes you wonder, though.
What does it make you wonder?
What if the rebels had been successful? Back in 1857.
Yeah.
What would an independent India shaped by those victors have looked like?
That's the ultimate what-if question.
It is, isn't it?
It's impossible to know for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they would have faced enormous challenges.
Like what?
Well, forging a new government.
Right.
Uniting a diverse population.
Yeah.
Building a nation from the ground up.
It would have been a very different path to independence.
A completely different path.
That's for sure.
Yes.
It would have.
But the fact that we're even asking these questions is a testament to the significance of the 1857 rebellion.
I think you're right.
It's a reminder.
Of what?
That history isn't just a set of facts and dates, but a complex tapestry of choices, actions, and unintended consequences.
It's a reminder that even in defeat, there can be victory.
The rebels of 1857 may not have achieved their immediate goals.
But their actions set in motion forces that would eventually lead to India's freedom. Their legacy lives on.
It does.
Not just in the history books, but in the very spirit of modern India.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And on that note,
I
think we've reached the end of our deep dive
We have.
into the 1857 rebellion.
It's been an incredible journey.
It really have.
Exploring a pivotal moment that continues to shape our understanding of India.
And its path to independence.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained new insights.
And perhaps even a few questions.
A few of your own.
To ponder.
Yes.
Until next time.
See you then!